So let's take a look at using the TI to list terms of a sequence. We know we can do this sort of problem by hand, but having the TI available can help you with the chance of making minor errors. The TI will not make them. So the most important part for you to understand is you have to make sure you're pressing the right buttons and you're entering the right expressions. So we're going to repeat one of the previous examples, only we're going to be using our TI. So it kind of depends on what type of operating system you have. You will see me demonstrate it with the TI-84C. And so this is where you will see the steps listed. And then if you do have an older operating system, I'll write in what you would see on the screen. So we'll get there. So first things first, we're always going to remember what our particular general term is, or the formula for the general term. So kind of look at example 3. I know it's at the bottom. We're looking at computing -1 to the n times n squared. See if I can underline that a little bit for you. Okay, so that would be what we enter into the expression part. -1 to the n multiplied by n squared. Sometimes if you're paranoid, you may use the multiplication key. Now, sometimes we feel like, it might be just a pain to have to enter in n. We can use the alpha key to help us out, but maybe we're so used to using x, maybe instead of using n, if you'd like to use x, that is completely okay, as long as for the variable part, you put in an x. So just make sure that matches. Now, the number of the term that you're going to start with is depending on what they want. Do they want the first 5 terms? Do they want term 7 through 12? Just kind of make sure you know first 5 terms mean you're starting with number 1. So we would enter number 1. And if you're finding the first 5 terms, you would end with the 5th term. But you can find the middle of the sequence. You want to find terms 8 through 50, feel free. Now, sometimes it also allows you to find every other term or every 3 terms. So what you'd want to do when they ask you for steps, do you want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Then the step would be entered as 1. But let's say you wanted 1, 3, and 5. Your step would be entered as 2. And there's so on. We can kind of play with this. So in our case, if we're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the step that we would enter would be a 1. So let's scroll over or switch over to the TI and see what we can do with this. So you'll have to see my viewing window. I'm going to share. I think I have a previous graph there. Let's quit to the home screen. I'll clear out. Now the new keys to pick here for this particular sequences and series of this chapter, we're going to press second stat to bring up the list menu. So if you're kind of looking at where is stat located, and I'm looking for it myself. Yes, there we go. We have second, and stat is right next to the variable that you would choose, like x. So stat is right next to the left arrow key. So that's going to call up the list menu. So on the list menu, there's 3 options. There's the names of the lists. There's operations that you can perform with the lists. And then there's math that you can perform with the lists. And that's kind of interesting. You use it a lot for stats and such. But we're more interested in the operations that we can perform with our particular lists. So we would select item number 5, that is sequence. And you kind of can tell, like, yeah, it's an abbreviation of sequence. So you can either use the down arrow key or you can select the number 5 to have this menu now pull up for us. Now, similarly, just like we entered in terms of, we went through this earlier, if you're looking for the expression, we're trying to look at -1. So be careful with all the parentheses. And if you're using -1, make sure it's a negative key. We're going to raise that to the x power. Remember, we're using the variable x. And I'm quite paranoid because it's not entering in as nice as I'd like it. I really want to make sure we are not multiplying x by the x squared. So I'm going to take a little more of a liberty, and I'm going to enclose all of this -1 to the x in another set of parentheses. So second insert, second delete will allow me to do that without having to erase it. If you mess up, just go over again. So that's -1 to the x. That is getting multiplied by x squared. Well, I know we used n, but we're using x squared this time. So you could press enter, and it'll go to variable. So pretty much your variable that you use should match whatever variable you use for the expression. And because we have a quick shortcut key for x, we're going to keep with that. But if you're really, really into it, you can use alpha keys to match those up. Let's press enter. So now our starting term number, we're starting with term number 1. We are ending with term number 5. And then the step that we want, because we want 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5, the step is still going to be 1, because there's 1 in between. So now we just press enter. You notice that the paste is highlighted. And if it's highlighted, simply press enter. And this will appear on your calculator. Now, some of you, if you have your TI 83s or maybe the 84s, you may not have this menu to go with. So this is the appearance that you would see in your particular calculator if you're entering this in. So it would actually start off with the SEQ, the general term of the expression, the variable you're using in the general term, the starting point, the ending point, and the step number. So as you can see, I'm going to switch back really quick. I'll copy that over. Yeah, might as well. I know I have you all in suspense because you're like, oh, why don't you press enter? But I will in a second. Let's just switch over so you could kind of see what I'm seeing, just in case you have a little older operating system. So that's what I'm looking at when I'm looking at this large number right here. Well, this large, not number, large, how do you say, sequence of terms to write. If you don't mind, I will paste and I'll move a little bit. And I'm hoping you're seeing that what you're trying to separate everything by, you have the formula for the general term. So that's leaving us with -1 to the x times x squared. You have the variable used, which is an x. You have the number of the term to start with, which is a 1. You have the number of the term to end with, which is a 5. And then the increment between each term, also known as the step. So notice that all of those items, if you're listing them in the particular order, they are separated by commas. And at the end, what would happen is you have to enter a closed parenthesis. So now if you do this, let me move this over just a little bit so we get that out of the way. That over there. I'll switch us back. So what you've all been waiting for. I say, will it be nice? Let's press enter. And voila, look at it. We have all of our terms, at least all the terms that we wanted. So I'll copy this over just so that we can see. You want to see, sometimes you're saying, hey, I don't trust this calculator. Let's see if we actually got it right. So what I'd like to do is switch back. I'm going to switch back to our notes. And I'll list them out for you. I'll actually do this in 2 places, just in case. I'm going to paste it. Here we go. Move this over. Now, normally you can't really paste onto the screen, right? So your final answer, usually you would just say, okay, if I'm listing the terms, I should have -1, +4, -9, 16, and -25. And normally when you list terms in a sequence, you're using set braces. Now, if you want to use a complete sentence like we did in maybe of the previous examples, that would also be okay, but this is the more compact form. So that's how you use your TI. And I do want to emphasize, like, we're actually correct, because if you remember, we did an example by hand in the previous video. See if I can find it. I want to move it up a little bit. Takes me a little time. Just be patient with me. There we go. And you notice that we did this by hand. -1, 4, -9, 16, and -25, and the TI matches. So that's a really, really convenient feature of the TI. I really like this part about it. The only thing that you probably want to be extremely careful about is how you enter the formula for the general term. If you're a little bit off with parentheses or you don't quite enter it correctly, you could have something that doesn't match what it's supposed to match. So, even using the TI, sometimes what I do is I spot check a couple terms. Like I might calculate a sub 1, I might calculate a sub 4, and hopefully they'll match, and then I can feel a little more confident about my TI. But pretty soon you'll get so good at this, you end up trusting it and everything's okay. So feel free to use either technique, at least in this class. But I just want to make sure you have a method for your TI. I hope this helps. I'll see you in the next example.